Hello, I hope y'all are doing well. It's January 2nd, first video of 2023. Uh, I hope y'all are all doing very good. Today it's Monday, and today I'm going to be talking about a pretty much a multi-day severe weather event, potential severe weather outbreak. All modes of severe weather are possible: tornadoes, damaging wind, and maybe in some places we could see a hail threat as well. We will look at all that. Uh, And yeah, so in 2023, I have some relatively like bigger. I mean, not really big changes to the channel. I plan to do more content other than just like these types of videos here. Uh, like maybe like Roblox, like twisted videos. We can do some storm chasing. I plan to do a lot of live streams because now I have everything set up that like the point I can do it. Although today I will not be live streaming just because I still have a lot of family over in my house, and it's kind of hard to get like one room to kind of do stuff in for more than like an hour. So if I live stream, it'd be for like 30 minutes. So there's no point really. But I will leave my I'll put my Twitter account in the description, and I will make sure I get some updates out over there. So I hope y'all are all having a good 2023 so far. Right now I'm planning on uploading like 5 to 6 times a week. Like I plan to upload less when there's like less stuff going on, just because the videos are just gonna be boring otherwise, and if there's not a whole lot going on, so maybe like 4 to 5 times a week during times like that. And if the weather's, if everything's really active, I plan to upload pretty much every day. Uh, so I'll probably have a video out again tomorrow, which that'll be after school and stuff. It will be in like the late afternoon, but I should have a video out again tomorrow. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Just wanted to go over some stuff there. Uh, so Today, this is our day one convective outlook for today. Came out at about an hour ago. Uh, as y'all can see, we have a pretty decent sized enhanced wrist that stretches from all the way in like southeast Missouri. Let me switch colors here. All the way from southeast Missouri down into areas of northwest Louisiana and northeast Texas. We see a slight risk that goes all the way up to like southeast Kansas here. I mean, pretty big in it, and then it goes all the way down to, or not southeast Kansas, and it goes down to southeast Texas. And we have a marginal risk that goes all the way up to almost the Missouri Iowa border. So, pretty big area that has a risk today. 10% Tor. We have a 10 sig Tor risk inside of that enhanced risk. We have a 30 non-sig wind threat and a 15% hail threat. So we have our enhanced risk is really for wind and tornadoes. Our hail threat is only the equivalent of a slight risk, but the hail threat is still. The hail threat's still there. It's just not as significant as the tornado and the damaging wind threat. And we'll talk about tomorrow in just a little bit. Let's focus on today though. So currently looking at the radar, we can see we have no warnings ongoing, but we're looking at Arkansas here. And we have a good bit of storms across the southern part of the state here, like the southern half of the state. Nothing that really looks too organized, like severe weather-wise, but just some showers, maybe some stronger storms of some like very small like hail and some of these, even over into like northwest Mississippi. We have these, but no severe warnings currently. But it is expected to, of course, change as we go into this afternoon. Looking at the current SPC mesoscale analysis, this is from the SPC here, or on the SPC site. We're looking at an ML CAPE here. We have 2,000 joules of CAPE in this area of eastern Texas here. This is pretty much right in front of our front, which this area will really start to get active once our front pushes. We'll see like more storms focused along the front. This area that we're going to be seeing storms in front of our front, that's going to be kind of the main. We're going to definitely see a tornado threat inside of like our line of storms, which we'll talk about in a second, but also we're going to be looking at the threat for like multiple like clusters of potentially supercells in front of that line, in front of our cold front. We have plenty of instability already. 1,500 to 1,000 across southern Arkansas. Plenty. it's January, and that's, I mean, that's not bad for Cape. Surface observations currently, if I can. I'm probably just try to zoom in here for us so we can see these a little better. Yeah, so we can see we have dews generally in the high 60s. Texarkana 68, Shreveport 70, Alexandria 69 down there, Lake Charles about 70. Uh, East Texas we have some dews in the mainly in the upper 60s to around 70. Seems like our highest dews are right around southwest of Houston area in Texas there. Also southeast Louisiana. But so yeah, I mean I mean decent environment. A lot of these stations are like reporting cloudy conditions though, which if we just actually the easier way to kind of look at this is if we just go over to satellite here. We can see we have a good bit of clouds. So, I mean, that could be a little bit of an issue, but we have a good bit of instability, I mean, already in place. So I think a cloud cover could help to kind of limit stuff a little bit, but I don't think it's going to do a whole lot. And we could potentially see some more clearing across northern Louisiana. Although the environment could get a little kind of drained out later in the day across Arkansas after we see multiple clusters come through potentially. So we'll see about that. Let me let me just click right here. Okay, we can get that back to normal. And yeah, so let's take a look at some models now. So these are just model dew points throughout today. Let me reload this just so it's a little. Also, move my phone. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so you can see dews are expected to increase a little bit more into like maybe getting up to near 70 in areas of southern Arkansas, maybe getting into the 70s a little bit there. So that's the dews. Looking at forecasted reflectivity, just so we can take some soundings here. And kind of get an idea of what we could be looking at. So we can see as our front pushes east, we don't see a whole lot of storms really along the front until like late this afternoon. So I mean, this is 3 p.m. here. That's Central Time, by the way. Let me lock it there. So I mean, our front is right there pretty much. We don't really see storms initiate on that front till later this afternoon. Which let me see what the reason for that is. It's a little. I mean, the environment is we have a lot less, a good bit less shear in that area. I mean, the best shear is really not forecasted. Is really like in front of the front. It's not along it. But I mean, we just don't really see HRRR doesn't indicate storms really along the front until later this afternoon. Could also be to do some capping, maybe. And that could be it a little bit there, but yeah. So once those storms get going, already though, I mean, at this time it was 4 p.m. Our front's still back here. We have some storms along it, like in front of it, of course, right in front of it. But then, well in front of it though, we have these clusters of storms across Arkansas down into Louisiana. These are what we're gonna want to watch too, because I mean, these could be. I mean, we definitely have like a good environment for supercells. I mean, taking a look at this sounding here, we can see we have plenty of instability once again. The Hodo is not that great. I mean, it's not the best sounding for like supercells, but I mean, you could see some storms produce tornadoes out of that as well. A little further south, about similar situation there. All the way over into northwest Mississippi. A little better as we're going a little further north here. That Hodo definitely looks better, for sure. And then let's go ahead a couple more hours. This is 6 p.m. now. Yeah, 6 p.m. So we're looking at a lot of storms now initiating along the front. Now these could also potentially, we could see some supercells at first along the front, although it's going to be kind of hard to tell if we're going to see our main tornado threat with these storms along the front, or if we're going to see it with these storms ahead of the front. It's definitely very hard to tell with this type of setup. I mean, I'd say we could probably see. I think we'll see a little bit more of a tornado threat ahead of the front, but with the storms ahead of it, like then the storms with the storms along it, because considering we have like less, the shear is not as great until kind of we get into until like the front moves east. But I mean, then we start to lose like our peak heating. We start to lose instability. So then you have other issues. So yeah, I mean, I'd say these storms ahead of it could definitely do some interesting stuff. Down in Louisiana, we can see we have still. I mean, 6 p.m. we still have a good environment for tornadoes. Uh, so yeah, I mean, this is going to be pretty interesting. I also want to shift this up a little further north here. So this is pretty like well after dark here. This is 9 p.m. So I mean, not too late. This is just like evening here. So we're looking at uh I mean, pretty much we're looking at a lot of storms kind of along our front. And it's still that kind of like that messy convection that's starting to. At one point it wasn't too messy, but now it's starting to just kind of, because we're losing that heating and stuff. Uh, and the storms aren't really too organized, so they're kind of just clustering and slowly dying as they move northeast. So I mean, the threat with, I think as we go into like after dark, our tornado threat will shift more to these storms like with our front back here. Although I mean they could still be kind of ahead of the front. They're not like right along it, but they're more focused along that front and not like these. But we could be seeing a severe threat all the way up into like the Kansas City area once again. We take a box sounding right here. So yeah, so I mean we're looking at a much worse environment here, but we still have some pretty decent like shear here, I guess. I mean, it's not that great, but I mean, you can see tornado threat will like dramatically decrease up here. But also, I mean, the damaging wind threat will still exist with any storms we get. So yeah, and then I mean through the night, tonight we just see how these storms pretty much continue going all night. That's also going to be an issue. Pretty interesting though for January. I mean, we don't see events like this all that often. And I mean, we're still looking at, a tornado threat. I mean, this is 9Z. This is like 3 a.m. here, and we're still looking at a tornado threat. I mean, Hodo is not that bad. And you can see some decent supercells out of this. The shear is becoming a little. I mean, it's a little better actually. I mean, definitely. So, I mean, we'll see what the tornado threat can do overnight, with lower instability and stuff. But either way, we're going to be looking at probably a damaging wind event tonight across areas of Arkansas, Missouri, Southern Illinois, Western Kentucky, Western Tennessee. If we go to like what the NAM 3 has, just to kind of get another model here, it has something pretty similar. We can see we have like a line of storms. These storms like kind of become like turn linear as you go into like late tonight, completely linear pretty much into like a line of storms. So maybe still some embedded supercells. And then once we get peak heating again tomorrow, we see more storms tomorrow and into Wednesday. So yeah, which that's what we're going to talk about in just a second. But generally, tonight or just afternoon, I think our highest tornado, I think really the focus state here is going to be Arkansas. Maybe northwest Mississippi would be an interesting area. And I'd say really, I mean, I think kind of this area here could be where we see the most like interesting stuff, I guess, tornado-wise. Although I do think I think today is going to be a day where we see like kind of more. I don't know how to like. Let me just figure. So like to put it, I think we're definitely gonna see like tornadoes probably even like down along the Gulf Coast. Although I don't think we're gonna be looking at like significant tornadoes. I think they're gonna kind of go like under the radar. I think it's gonna be kind of like one of those types of days. We don't really pay attention to those too much, considering we'll be having more stuff go on in like Arkansas, northern Louisiana, that area. So yeah, I mean that's today. Today is gonna be very interesting. And then tomorrow we can see we have an enhanced risk from Louisiana up into kind of eastern Alabama, a slight risk over to all the way up to Kentucky and over to Atlanta. And then we have a marginal well over into upstate South Carolina, uh, and all the way to like the middle of the Florida Panhandle, I guess. So also, I mean, a pretty similar event tomorrow, just a little further east. Temp 10 sig tor, and then enhanced risk we have a 15 wind and a 15 hail. So our enhanced risk is really just for tornadoes, as of right now. So pull up the HRRR here, and so that's today, and we can see tomorrow the HRRR and the NAM3 though, like reflectivity wise, are vastly different. So the HRRR kind of has this line of storms along the front, kind of just slowly moving east throughout the day. I mean, this is 9 a.m. We can see, I mean, the line of storms is still ongoing, and then throughout the day we see a lot of storms kind of initiate, even like behind it, or they're kind of like along the front again, and then also outflow from that line of storms, and it helps to initiate more, and then they move into Georgia and then fall apart throughout the night, kind of like the further like the northern storms on the HRRR do die out pretty quickly as we go into Wednesday night. You lose instability a lot, and especially in like Georgia. Pretty common thing is the environment, especially in northern Georgia, is just not that good as anywhere else. I mean, we take a look at instability here, and we just kind of lose most of that instability across the more northern areas in the HRRR. But the NAM3 is much different. And we can see that instability makes it all the way. I mean, we look at a like northern Georgia coming more Wednesday afternoon, like when that front actually comes through. Looking at reflectivity though, off the NAM3, which keep in mind, I mean, this is not what we just want to rely on. I'm just trying to compare the two models, kind of get an idea. So I mean, that line of storms just moves slow, and then it just completely dies Tuesday afternoon. And then the outflow from that helps to get more storms, but definitely like the NAM3 is a much less significant event than the HRRR. So that's something to keep in mind. Even though the HRRR is like this insane event, not really insane, but like this significant event, just looking at reflectivity, like even like rain wise, just a ton of storms. The NAM3 is nothing like it. So that's already an issue with the models. I mean, they're vastly different. So we're gonna take soundings off of the NAM3 and the HRRR for tomorrow, just to get a better idea of what we could be looking at. So we're back in the HRRR. I mean, this is Mississippi here. This is early in the day. This is 8 a.m. And I mean, we're looking at a good bit of instability here. We have MLK for about 714 joules, so on the lower end there, but I mean, that's manageable. With the environment that we have, that's workable. So low level shear is pretty good. About 35 knots of surface to 1 kilometer shear. SRH about 200 to 250, and the HODO does look pretty good as well. So I mean, HRRR already has that good environment for storms. Once we get a little bit more of that afternoon heating, we get that instability to build up. We see, which really helps to get more storms going, potentially supercells. Tomorrow afternoon, we still see a good environment across Alabama, down in southern Mississippi. We have a little bit more instability, but the shear is a little worse. We could still definitely get some very strong storms down there. And I mean, yeah, so generally, tomorrow still does look like the HRRR is kind of comparable with Monday and Tuesday, like today and tomorrow. I mean, with the type of, like the magnitude of an event that we're gonna see. I mean, the shear is we see like very similar amounts of shear. Very like, I guess I mean, everything is pretty much like very similar, although it's just a little further east. But then the NAM3 though, if we take soundings off the NAM3, I mean, at 19Z we're barely seeing any convection across much of the south. But the environment's not bad though. I mean, the environment's definitely supportive of like supercells that could produce Some tornadoes. This is a nice 5% sounding right here. We have pretty good shear, especially in the lower levels there. Uh, and I mean, our Hodo is not. It's not the best, but I mean, that's not a bad sounding. I mean, kind of don't understand why the NAM 3 doesn't have a whole lot of convection, but you don't really want to pay attention to that. Uh, with this sounding here, it's just very good actually. I mean, we have I mean, it's a good bit of low level shear there. Plenty of instability. You know, I mean, there's not much wrong with the sounding here, really. I mean, I'm looking. I don't see. I mean, there's not a whole lot wrong with this at all. So, kind of curious as to why we don't see it. Maybe because of we just don't really see a focal point for storms. That's kind of. I mean, it's a little interesting though why the NAM 3 is not showing a whole lot. So we'll definitely, it's going to be interesting to see which one of these two models actually verifies or does better with this. And we'll definitely look at that for tomorrow. We'll talk about how the NAM 3 and the HRRR did for today, for sure. But I mean, yeah. So the NAM 3 also does have a much more overnight event. I mean, like Tuesday. I mean, this is about 2 a.m. here, and we're still looking at storms kind of getting the other here. We're still looking at, you know, a tornado threat that we still have. Fairly good shear. You have a decent Hodo. I mean, this is just very kind of like a very consistent event here. I mean, as these storms move into Georgia, we see this would be right here. This would be 8 a.m. That's Eastern time, 7 a.m. Central, and we're looking at definitely a much worse environment as we come with like capping issues. Probably if I had to guess, it's probably due to the wedge isn't as noticeable though, but I mean definitely not as noticeable, but that could be a factor here maybe. I don't think we're gonna see with like the wedge, like the cold air jamming, which we frequently ruins severe weather events across this area, maybe a little further down here sometimes. So yeah, it's not going to be that big of a factor with this event probably, most likely. But I mean, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. So we'll see. But yes, I mean, Wednesday we also have a marginal risk across areas of the southeast from the Florida Panhandle up into North Carolina, and we see. Let's get it better. Actually, let's just stay in the southeast. So the NAM 3 seems to kind of agree with the SPC. We have our front here. We see a couple. You know, we have a little bit of instability. Environment's much worse than it is Monday and Tuesday, though. I mean, sheer generally just. We see, you know, not as good shear profiles, and not as much instability. There's some like big factors there that we begin to see issues with. I definitely think that if we do see like maybe a slight risk issued, kind of right now, I think right now we'll probably see it like along kind of this area here. I don't think we're gonna see really much of a severe weather threat as like across this area as of right now, but I definitely think it'll exist more across like South Georgia areas, the Florida Panhandle, and Southeast Alabama on Wednesday. So yeah, it's pretty much all I got. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I think it was a little bit of a longer video than normal, and I will once again I will leave my my Twitter down in the description, just so we can, just so I can get updates out on there, because I can't live stream. So I get updates out on there for y'all. I will try my best to put stuff up there frequently. But yeah, so hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Once again, I should be back tomorrow. We'll talk about how the models did and stuff today. But yeah, so that's it. Goodbye.